afternoon, people of God. How are you guys doing on this chilly Wednesday afternoon? It is officially winter. We had quite a bit of rain, and I think you guys had rain in Potch and Clarkstop as well, and in Paraiso had quite a lot of rain, and it is cold today. I think the phone said with a high of 13, and we're feeling it. It is nippy. It is officially the start of winter, but welcome, guys. Welcome to the Sandro and Meghan show. Welcome to Life FM. Hope you guys are enjoying this blessed, amazing day. And I know for those of you listening, you guys have been enjoying the great content that's been playing all day. And there's another great show coming through from us, and cannot wait for it. Meghan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, thank you, and I hope that each and every single one of you is having such a wonderful and blessed week. Yes, we're in a new week. Well, it's a new week for us, and
It's a new season as well.
and it's a new season. And I know we don't like the winter, but a new season to me is always a blessing, and it's always it's always an indicator. You know what? God is always doing something new within all of us.
Well, I wouldn't say we don't like winter. There are those people that we still got to pray for that love winter, but we'll pray hard for them. That's one of the things is, you know what, enjoy the season, enjoy the moment. I know not every moment is one of those that we thoroughly enjoy, but we must make the best of it, because God says whatever you do, do it for the glory of God. And even in this cold times, it's easy to mumble and rumble and not be positive and trying to get out of a warm bed, and then you got to get to work and you got to do stuff, and it's so cold and you feel like a polar bear after you've dressed. But you know what? Let's just enjoy, because we will never get these moments back. But before we get into it, we got a topic that we're going to discuss after the break. But we're first going to head into a song, Cannot Wait, and I know you guys are going to enjoy it. So enjoy the song, and we'll be back right after this.
Welcome back to Life FM. You're still tuning with Sandro and Meghan right here on the Sandro and Meghan show. And if you're listening in the Potch area, you are of course listening on 98.1 FM. Otherwise, in the Kosh area, you're on 100.6 FM. Otherwise, you can listen to us on the World Wide Web on www.lifefm.co.za, or just download the app and you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. But to get into today's topic, I'm more excited about the topic, and I think this is going to be one of those days where we roll about it, because I think, you know, we've been having this specific conversation in our home for the last 2 days, maybe 3 days even, and this is something that just keeps coming back into conversation with between our amongst ourselves, with friends, with family, and it's something that I think is really, it's an unnecessary slap in the face, because when you have to realize this, especially when there is someone in your life, you know, that this would apply to, it's a little frustrating, but at the same time, I also think it's really freeing. And the very point of today's show is the fact that you cannot change them. And this is difficult at times. I know that we have family and we have friends and we have people around us all the time, you know, that you look at it and you're like, can you just be happy, just accept God, just be good people, just, you know, and you know the potential that these people have within them, because you've seen them be good, and you've seen them achieve greatness, and you've seen them, you've known them at times where they have been, you know, these God-fearing people, and all of a sudden they're in a point in their life where they don't want to know anything about God, and they don't want to know anything about, you know, about being kind of, if I can say it, normal. You know, I think it's an important thing. I know a lot of people in my own personal life that they've got this one sickness, I'll call it, which is victimization, you know, where they victimize themselves in every single aspect of their life, and they feel like everyone's out to get them and everyone's out to scam them. And, you know, you can speak to them in the calmest tone of voice. You can send them all the Bible verses. You can try your little heart out. But the fact of the matter is when it comes to people like this, you cannot change them.
You see, that's the hard part. Is a lot of times, and this goes two ways, because in my mind, when I look at certain people, I'm like, okay, if you stop doing this, your life will get so much better. And if you do that, your life will get so much better. Obviously, firstly, accepting the Lord Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And I'm like, you know, I've seen this many times. And many times when I speak to people, when you counsel people, then you tell them, listen, rather, because you can't force them. You can't change their minds. You can try and influence them. You can try and give them the advice that they want. I mean, Proverbs is full of it. It says that you're not a wise man will listen, but a fool will not listen, basically. And you can give them the best advice. And sometimes, I mean, I've seen this where I've told people, this is the way that I personally believe you should go. I think you'll thrive in this. And they just go the opposite direction. And then later on, when things don't work out, then they come back to you and they said, I should have listened. It's like, okay, well, we can't change the past, but what can we start doing from now on? But then there's also been times where I thought, listen, I think you should rather go in this direction, or I think you should rather do this. And they went the opposite direction, and it actually worked out well for them. So, it's one of those is where we must come with the sincerest of hearts and say, listen, this is what I believe. And firstly, always directing them to Christ and saying, let the Lord lead you. Because, I'm going to put a case in point back in the days when I was still in Potch. I was by Pastor Tom's church in Potch. Well, for those long-time listeners, Pastor Tom and Benny had a show that, back in the day, I think a year or two ago, and it's RKS Meter Park in Potch, and I was leading the youth, and there was two people who came out to me, a young gentleman and a young lady. They also wanted to study and become pastors, and I was so excited for them, and I could see them doing it. And obviously, we encouraged them as that time. I was also on the church board, and we did everything we could to equip them, to help them financially, to just to get them there. Also, get them more involved with the church, to kind of understand. Listen, it's not just about the studying part, but it's about being involved. And the one thrived. The one thrived and finished his degree, and he's in the process of becoming a full-time pastor within the next year or two, because he's going through the ranks, and he became a youth pastor, and he led a church, went on to another church, and now he it sounds like he's going to get an opportunity very soon to actually become the head pastor of a church, and that is so amazing. But then there was the other lady, and as much as beautiful young soul, amazing, what a love for God. But then for some reason, she got distracted. For some reason, things just, I don't know what happened. For her, all of a sudden, she just kind of rebelled, and she started the studies, but then she just went the opposite way. And the more we try to influence her, the more we, it caused more fights at the end of the day. That she just pulled away, and she just said, I'm not coming back to the church. And we're like, okay, well, that's a choice you made. And later on, she actually did come back, and she kind of said, maybe I should have gone through with it. And I said, okay, well, it is what it is. What can we do now from where you are? We know you're in a different path of your life, and you're in a different direction, and you're in a different field. You're not in theology anymore. You're not going the pastoral route. But what can we do now? And at that time, we tried so hard to force her. We tried so hard to change her mind. We tried so hard because she would be the perfect candidate to be a female pastor, because she has this intense love for God. And, she's also had this amazing way that she connects with people. And she could also, speak very well, which is also very good. And, and she could relay a message, but she just got distracted. It was the wrong friends at the wrong times. And, she just got pushed away. And her heart just hardened. And we see this with Pharaoh. And this is one thing that Meghan actually brought up. We started speaking about it the other day with, I don't know how we actually got onto the topic, but then we kind of see that, yes, God hardened Pharaoh's heart in the beginning, but then he stopped. And then Pharaoh hardened his own heart. And I kind of saw this with her later on, just before she left, that she hardened her own heart so much towards us. And we like said, but this is what's best for you. I mean, we could see it. We knew it, but she went the total opposite direction. But the one thing is, we never stopped supporting her. We never stopped loving her. We encouraged her, but then she went her own way. And when she did come back, we encouraged her again. But then she didn't want to go the pastoral route. She thought, no, there's other plans for her. And it didn't work out. But we could have at that moment easily just cast aside, thrown away, and we just told her, come back, we're waiting for you. And in a way, what I'm trying to get to is, looking back, we can always look like, oh, we did the right thing. But there were times where I think we pushed too hard, and we actually were a part of the cause of her pushing away. Because we told her, but don't do this, don't do that. And, they're young, and she was doing stuff that, going out to places where you shouldn't be going. And you must understand, they're 19, they're 19, 20 years old. And, at that time, she thought she could have the best of both. And, it's, would I have handled it differently now? Obviously, yes. But then I realized, we were sometimes the cause of pushing them away. Because we try to be so hard and so strict, knowing what's best for her. If you come through this, everything will work out well, and you'll be exactly where you want to be. And this is where we also got to be careful. Because a lot of times we try and then we push people away. We actually push them further away from God. I'm not saying that was the case with us with this girl, but I've seen it with other cases that I've actually pushed people away from the Lord. When I realized, I actually went to apologize to them, and I said, you know what, you build your relationship up with God. I don't want to be the one pushing you away just because I think I know what's best for you. And this is tough, especially when it comes to parents and their children. But this is something that we're going to be discussing, I think, a bit more after the break, because we're going to get into a song now. And you know what? This is not just a message for the parents. This is a message for all of us. For sometimes we encourage our friends and they don't want to listen. And when they don't want to listen, we want to kick them. Because why? It's like, we can see you're doing stuff so wrong. But we mustn't push them away, guys. But anyway, let's get into a break, and we'll be back right after this. Guys, welcome back after the break. Yes, it's Wednesday. It is winter. You're still listening to the Sandro and Meghan show. You're still listening to Life FM. And we're so excited. Guys, our topic, you cannot change them. We know we can't change people, but we can influence them. And I think I had quite a bit to say in the first segment. So Meghan's just looking at me, just waiting for her time to talk now. So Meghan, what can you add to this topic?
I think a lot about, there's quite a few people in my life, and I've had conversations with close friends recently about close people in their lives. And, you think about how you watch someone. I'm going to use an example, and I'm going to try and be as discreet about this example as possible. Now, I have a very good friend, and recently, unfortunately, her brother passed away. And her brother was on the dangerous road. Her brother traveled a very, very dangerous road, and he unfortunately, he lived his life a very wrong way. And after his passing, me and his sister are fairly good friends, and she came over to have a coffee with me, and she was devastated. Obviously, her brother passed away, and she opened up about the type of life he was living. And I mean, it was he preferred the streets. It was that type of life. And she said, all throughout, she always tried to change him when he was younger. She always tried to influence him to go to God, and she always tried to push him in that direction and to have him fix his life and have him live a life worth living. And eventually, his death was kind of like a bit anticlimactic, because when it came to his life was very static, and he just unfortunately died. And she was very, but till now, she's very distraught about her brother's passing. But you see, the one thing that took what I took away from this was and this isn't going to be a very popular opinion. You can preach as hard as you want to preach. You can go and share as many Bible verses as you want to share with a certain group of people. You can go and lay your hands upon them. You can go and only speak life when you're around them. But some people just won't change. And it's nothing that we did wrong. There is nothing that we did wrong. It's not that we didn't do what the Lord told us to do. It's not that we could have done something better. It's not that we could have been more present. It's got nothing to do with it. Inevitably, bringing back to the Pharaoh. Now, I don't know if you know the story of the Pharaoh back in Egypt in Exodus. where the Israelites were trying to leave Egypt, and the Pharaoh just kept denying them. And every time the Pharaoh denied them, God sent a plague. And in the first, I believe, 2 or 3 plagues, God hardened the Pharaoh's heart. And then thereafter, you notice one thing, and it's that the Pharaoh hardened his own heart. Even as the plagues started getting worse, they started getting really, really worse, and started really affecting the economy, the people. And the worse the plague got, the more the Pharaoh hardened his own heart. To a point where, I mean, the story is it's pretty graphic, and I think we don't really have the time to get into that right now. But to a point where, at the very end of it, after the Lord had taken probably one of the Egypt's most prized possessions in the plagues. This was the most prized part of Egypt in the plague, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because I want you to read your Bible. But the Lord had taken away something that would have been the most prized of any nation. And eventually, in a split moment, the Pharaoh softened his heart. He turned around. He let the Israelites go. And as they were gone, all of a sudden, he hardened his heart back again, and he chased them back down. And this is where we get to the Red Sea. Now, that's a story for another day. But this is very evident that in the one thing that actually carried value that God had to take away in a plague, even still then, the Pharaoh still did not change his heart. He still didn't soften his heart to God, and he still didn't turn to God. And this is where you see often. Now, we've had conversations about praying the Lord's Prayer for the unsaved and all of those. But you see, it happens quite a lot where some people, even when they lose everything, even when they lose the most prized thing in their life, they still don't change. And it's got nothing to do with us. And I know this is a horrible thing to say out loud, but it's true.
You see, this is the point where, our part is you can either move, if it's affecting your life, you have to move away, or otherwise, but you never stop praying for them. You never stop praying for, that God softens their hearts, blesses them with a new heart. But it's a choice that they make. Because once you come up to the Lord and say, Lord, change me. I want to be saved. I accept you as my Lord and Savior. Then I think it's in Ezekiel 38 or 37. He says he'll bless you with a new heart, a heart of flesh. He'll take out the heart of stone out of you. But not everyone accepts it. And that's the most difficult thing. It's also around, I've realized there are just some people in life that I don't want to be around. I pray for them. I love them. I see them now and then, and I'll spend a bit of time with them, but I don't want to spend too much time around them because they're just so negative. Everything can be going right in their life, and the sun is shining, and they'll be on their way to holiday, and everything will be, and they'll always find something negative. They'll always find something so bad. And then they'll be driving the national roads, which is normally well paved, it's nice roads to drive. Oh, but there's one pothole that we've got to watch out for. I'm like, really? 700-kilometer journey, and you're worried about one pothole that you can avoid. You get those people. And unfortunately, you can just encourage them. I don't want to say, you can't convince them. You can encourage them. Let's try and influence them. Let's try and be that godly person. But you must also be wary that it doesn't start affecting you. Because when I was hanging around a certain person around a lot, I started becoming negative, and negative talk started coming out of my mouth. And I wasn't the person that I normally am, because I'm a positive, upbeat person, and I was feeling down and I'm depressed. I'm like wondering why. Then the Lord showed me, but look who you're hanging with. And then one day when I was actually visiting with him, I just got, after a while, it was like after 10 minutes, I just wanted to leave because I was so depressed just by listening to this person talk the whole time that, it's like, dude, you got everything. You got all the skills to thrive in your profession, but yet you're moaning and, you're not really trying, but you just want everything handed to you, just like, I'm like, why? And, I actually just made an excuse, and we still see each other now and then, but good friends with them. But as soon as they start with a negative talk, I'm like, bye, I'm out of there. I'll influence you. I will talk to you. Then I'll always send them like a verse, and I'll always send positive stuff and say, no, man, it's so great, and you can do this. but they just don't want to listen, and they just don't want to change. And this is where, you must just kind of realize that, sometimes you got to accept people for who they are. And this is where we know that they can do better. We know that they can thrive. We know that oh man, if they really actually put effort in, they can change the world. And man, this is where I've kind of feel also is like, those are the moments where you got to step back and say, okay, what should I be focusing on instead of on them?
And you know what? I think this is, that's probably one of the hardest things, is coming to the realization that, again, you can't change them. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you preach. It doesn't matter what you do. You cannot change them. You know what? In some instances, like even with Pharaoh, even with all of the things being taken away from Egypt, the Egyptians and Pharaoh, we often forget that it wasn't just Pharaoh, it was also the Egyptians. None of them ever changed their hearts. And you know what? This is the one thing, is you can try. It doesn't mean, let me just get something out straight here. It doesn't mean that they won't be going to heaven. Let me just get that out of the way. We'll get into that topic next week, because I see we are running out of time. It doesn't mean they're not getting into heaven. Don't get that wrong for 1 second. It just means that, some people are so set in their ways that the only person that can change them, like really, really change them, is Jesus Christ. And there's nothing that you can do about it. And the only point that will come to is when they finally accept that they need to change and they need help.
Yes, and that's a choice that we all got to make. And if you are the one pushing, or if you're the one who has to change, take a moment to think about it. Take a moment to think about this. I know this is a bit different to what we normally do, but this is something that's been on our hearts. And you know what? If you have to change, maybe now's the time. And if you're pushing for someone to change and you see you're pushing them actually further away from you or further away from God, take a step back. And you know what? We see this with parents all the time. Don't. Let the Lord take over and submit it to Him. Guys, unfortunately, we ran out of time. I think we'll continue this next week. Blessings. Love you all. And we'll be back next week, Wednesday. Same time, same place. Enjoy the rest of the week.